All right. Okay, so this month we are going to do food illustration. And I'd like to give a little bit of explanation about food illustration, why I like to do it, and why very often people think that what am I going to do with illustrating food? So I feel that there's like a twofold advantage to sketching food. One is, of course, this is just another interesting topic to sketch. As long as you have something to do every day that keeps you motivated, your illustration skills obviously are going to grow better and better. And what I found, at least from my temperament, is I do not have that, that medical student or IIT student tenacity that I will keep doing the same thing over and over again and become skillful at that. But I can continue to do something as long as I find that interesting and challenging. So I'm more willing to take on newer challenges than burrow into the same hole over and over again. So, with that in mind, I keep changing the module every month. And what I found is that in every module, you will encounter the same things that require you to sharpen your skills in art. So, what we need to do really is to just be able to constantly keep drawing so that we strengthen our hand. The more you draw, the more your muscles strengthen. Yes, yes, Malika.
So your audio and video are breaking. I'm
Glitching?
not sure if that's for everyone.
Yes, I
Yeah, it's
think
for
it is for everyone. Yeah, yeah. And
Okay.
I feel that this is possibly because my internet might be a little unstable, but it will stabilize. So if
Okay.
this continues, let me know because I mean, I have only one internet service to bank on. So let's just pray. Yeah, tell me what you missed, then I can repeat that.
everything.
Uh,
All right, I'm going to go over
yeah.
it all over again. Okay, so the two important factors I feel that, well, let me go to three important factors. One is that practicing art can be a very tedious process if you are given a set of exercises and told that for the next 4 months you just do this. And once your hand becomes strong enough, then I will take you to the next level, which is like how most art schools would probably approach the subject. And that is well and good for people who want to learn art, to become artists. But I feel that adults really do not have that much time, and our pursuit of art has a different purpose, and therefore it needs to have a different process. So the change in modules is only so that we find something new to draw, but basically we are doing the exact same things. It's like when you go for a walk, you need to walk those 30 minutes for exercise, but it doesn't matter whether you walk in the university or you walk on a hill. But for you, it becomes more interesting that you change where you go, especially if that is your temperament, like mine is. The second reason is that the factors that you encounter when you have to draw anything remain constant. Whether you're drawing a face or a fruit, you still need to recognize shape, size, lines, proportion, all of that in the same way so that you can translate a photograph or a real object into a two-dimensional object on paper. So that's the second factor. The third factor is I feel sometimes, especially for women who work with food, that there is a lot that we do with food when it comes to cooking, and also our interaction with food is a little more intense. It is not a transactional relationship like 12 o'clock, okay, now I'm feeling hungry, now I have to eat. It's not that. There is a lot more that we do with food. We collect recipes, we think about nutrition, especially if you have a family, then you go a little over and beyond and provide something for one person, something else for another person. So you're like this little, almost like a grocery shop for your family, trying to keep them happy with their food. So, with that in mind, I feel that there are certain tips and tricks that we develop, certain recipes that we have collected over time from generations before, and also with our interaction with other people, that we have our own repertoire of cooking. And very often our children grow up with that. And when they grow up, they always come back and say, okay, I really like this so and so that you made. And then one day they're going to go to college and say, oh, I really miss your so and so. And then you feel, okay, let me just write down how you can make this. And then you jot it down in some diary. And if you're really creative, you make a big diary out of it and still jot it down and give it to them. Hopefully, they will also continue to make those recipes. Now, this whole process can be turned into a much more interesting process if we start illustrating these, especially if you are interested in illustrating. Then this one subject can give you fodder for years, and it's a perpetual process. Every time you get a recipe, you can get your diary, illustrate it, and that will become your, it's like a legacy that you're going to eventually pass on. So I feel that for us, there are various reasons why food is important to us. So when I started doing this module, I wanted to do it for people who wanted to either travel, because during travel you encounter a whole lot of exotic foods, but you don't know how to draw it. So we make these clumsy lines and then a few lines to say, okay, this was a piece of bun and this was some curry, and then you slap some paper on it, and then we spend a lot of time in writing about it, but the illustration is not very satisfactory. So that is where it began. And I used to take my entire class once in a while to a restaurant or a cafe nearby, and we would order food. We would illustrate our food first. That would give me an opportunity to show them how to do that. And then, of course, we would eat there, and that became a nice tradition. And then when we started traveling for the retreats, then it became even easier for those people to start documenting the food. And that became one subject in every travel. Every 3-4 pages, food. 3-4 pages, food. So today what I'm going to do, or this month what I'm going to do, is do a quick, like a 3-class concentrated effort towards recipe illustration. Because around August, I want to publish that student's recipe book, which we did 2 years ago. That was a recipe book, volume 3. And this year, I want to do volume 4. And all you need to do is illustrate a recipe either in the given size in a single page or use a double spread. So I'm going to show you how we can do that. And working towards that, we are going to start off with making just a few raw ingredients today. Next week, we will make some prepared foods. So I will show you how to make bowls and plates and the presentation required. And then the last week, the third week, I will show you how to compose all those together to create a recipe. So these are just very basic things, but they will give you something to practice. And hopefully through July and maybe first part of August, you can start making some sketches, and that will start giving you ideas about how you want to go about your recipe in case you want to participate in this. And maybe today, towards the end of the class, I'll tell you about how that works as well, how the recipe book submission thing and publishing thing works. All right, so let's get to the pictures. So I've shared a few pictures here. We have a couple of cherry, a couple of bell peppers, some very beautiful, almost science fiction looking grapes. And then we have kale and carrot. So the variety that I have chosen today is for color, textures, a combination of colors like this over here. And mostly raw, all of these are raw, the raw avatar of the food. Now, if you look at this closely, for us, as much as this is just a bell pepper, sketching this will help you understand proportion and also understand how maybe skin works. So if you want to draw a facial skin, not only will you know how to shade it, but also how light falls on a three-dimensional object like that, highlights and shadows, and then it's very easy to translate this onto a face. Same thing over here. So in a fruit like this, we have just removed the human features, but there are other features which are fewer and easier to manage and also more forgiving. So that say the stalk is drawn at just a little few left or right of where it actually is, it's not going to change the person's identity. It is definitely going to change the cherry's identity, but that doesn't embarrass us as much as when a nose becomes too wide. So we are going to attempt to shade or draw these bell peppers in pencil first. Then I'm going to show you how to paint and also use color pencils on these grapes. And then hopefully between these two, when we do have to wait between layers, we will attempt one or two of the others. Like the scale is very beautiful to attempt. And the remaining then you can do as homework. So how are we going to draw these? I usually would give you some kind of proportions, maybe make a circle or square or whatever. Today I'm not going to give that proportion to you on the drawing, the reference image, but I'm going to show you on paper how I would go about it. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to request you to not draw with me. Give me about 7 to 10 minutes to demonstrate the whole process. It's not something that you have to make notes for. You don't say, okay, first do this, then do that. It is something that you have to observe and absorb. So I learned a lot of sketching by myself, and I would struggle through drawing lines. And eventually, as the internet made stuff available for us, I came across a lot of videos of artists that I admired and their process. And what I found is that I learned a lot more from just quietly seeing how their hand moved. There's something about learning from absorption that does not require words. There's a certain rhythm. You will see how they hold the pencil in their hands. You will see how they will shade from where they will start. And I would encourage you to not even make a verbal note of it. It just clear your mind and just see what is happening. Anyway, I'm going to be talking a lot through it, so you don't have to make any notes about it. That's my advice. But of course, if again you're like me, I'm compulsive note taker. Even if it said notes are not required, I'll make those notes. So feel free to do what you want to do, but don't draw. Try to observe more. All right, so as always, we first use our fingers to decide on size. Where do you want to position this entire picture? In the beginning, do not make pictures that are so large. We are just going to make small pictures, no more than about 3 or 4 inches at best, which means that the first part of the illustration is just moving your hands to loosely place these objects. Now, I am still looking at where one object starts, how it is tilted. Maybe I can draw an oval like that, show the top part, the crown of the bell pepper, and then by that same logic, how the bell pepper turns or the oval turns for the bell pepper in the foreground. And at every point I'm looking at this proportion, how fat versus how tall it is. You are encouraged to draw multiple lines, and as those lines start making sense, you will make your lines much more firm. I hold the pencil this far away because if I draw the line like that, because we are in the habit of holding the pencil close, but also we feel that we have better control holding the pencil close. But that means that most of our illustration is obscured until we come to this side. It's a very practical problem. But the moment you hold your pencil far away, the obstruction is very tiny, but you can see the entire geography of the region. And that helps you to plan your line. So while you're drawing a line on the left, you also know how much space you have on the left. So the chances of you making this part too wide or too small reduce. And with that, also you can start marking whichever section you feel has revealed itself to you. It's literally about seeing something and knowing for sure that yes, this is now what I have to draw. If you do not see something, if the information about that part of the illustration is not revealed to you, forget it. Now let's move forward and make the next part. This is how you have to proceed. Now, when I'm drawing this, I cannot look at my book right now because my reference image is on the screen. So I'm looking straight ahead, but I'm drawing with my book horizontal. If I were to look up and then look down, I will lose information. So what I want you to do is when you're drawing this, hold the book in the same plane as the reference image. If you have the reference image next to you, then keep the book horizontal so that your eye moves from the reference image to your illustration very smoothly. It's in the same plane, and very often you will be able to draw while you're looking at your reference image from the corner of your eye, and that gives you much better a better evaluation of whether your lines are right or not. Now, while you're drawing this, you can also insert these highlights. While they are empty space, so to say, they still consume some space in some at some point. And the moment you mark it down, you have occupied that space. Once you do that, you will know where the next object or the next feature begins more accurately. Now, all these lines are still rough lines, and you must feel flexible enough or confident enough to change the lines as more and more information is revealed to you. So, this is these sketching lines are like just placeholders mostly. And because our medium right now is going to be pencil, we are going to be able to make these placeholders formal, but it's still a placeholder. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because I find sometimes that there is this fear of drawing and you want to just get it over with. So when you feel that that is the case, you tend to quickly make a line and say, okay, now that I've made it, I don't have to look at it again. But unfortunately, that's not how it works. So don't be afraid of changing the line. Don't be attached to that. Because if you don't change it, then you will be committed to something that may not be accurate. And when you start shading everything, you will be a little unhappy with your outcome. All right, so at this stage, I have just made the outline. Now don't start drawing yet. Let me just show you the shading bit. When you are shading, first we have to put down a very light tone. And I'm going to give you an exercise to know your pencil's tone. I will start off with shading every part that I see color in with this very light shade of lines. And I'm going to go over even these wrong highlights that I have made. My aim usually, and it has been since the time I was 15, is to be able to draw something without erasing. And in order to do that, you just have to draw lighter lines. All the lines you draw eventually will support your illustration. So even if these lines are going through, they will become invisible because I will draw more lines over there which will absorb all of these. So this is the lightest that I can make. Once I've done this, I can start making a second layer of the same pressure. I'm not increasing pressure. And this will start giving me some dimension. It's still fairly rough at this stage, but something is emerging thanks to the highlights. Now that I've made this much, I realize that I can bump the bell pepper just a little outside and give it a curved line like this. This is what I mean by the shapes will reveal themselves to you and you keep refining them. So I'm not doing that fine shading yet. Now in all objects which are slightly cylindrical, there is this shading technique that we do, which is like a contour, because you can see that the object is cylindrical. So if we make this contour shading, we will be able to show the 3D nature of the object without doing any more work. So rather than making horizontal lines throughout, after the first layer, you can attempt to make these long, rounded shapes in the lines. The second layer anyway is going to be at a different angle from the first layer. And this way I will keep adding more and more layers, darker and darker graphite. So if I bring it very close, you will see that it still looks sketchy. It is important for you to be able to make these lines. Okay, so don't go don't be in a rush to make it very smooth. If you can observe the object with this abstraction, you are sharpening your ability to see objects on a blank paper. Okay, I'll try and explain this a little more as we go along. But at this stage, maybe you can start drawing, so that I've shown you how to plot your object, how to draw the initial shape first with just the basic form, and then to fine tune bits of it. Then start shading with mid-tones or a light tone. And we will do at least 2-3 more layers of shading as we go along. So before you start drawing, here's the exercise on understanding your tones. So let's make a rectangle like this first, divide it in half and then into quarters. It's not too long, maybe about 1.5 inches. So in these 4 blocks, we are going to test our pencil. I'm using a 2B. In the very bottommost block, you will shade really dark. Hold the pencil far away. Don't hold it too close. Hold it far. Don't hold it with an overhand. Hold it like this, but keep it flattish, and slowly put as much pressure as you can without breaking the pencil and fill out that block. Don't overlap, just in one shot, see how dark you can go. This is your max pressure. It can be uneven, don't worry about that. Somewhere over there in this scale, you will find the darkest pressure, so you know how dark you can go. This one is easy to do. But now on the topmost block, you have to do something that we're not familiar with, and that is to hold the pencil as lightly as you can, just supporting it enough so that if you were to allow the pencil to just move on the paper with minimum pressure, what shade are you going to get? This is unusual. We don't use such light lines. So now you have a maximum and a minimum. And we can do many shades between the max and the minimum. For the second one, now try increasing the pressure a little more. For this, just grip the pencil where you had not gripped it in the first topmost block. Just grip it a little more and see how much darker you can make. And then grip it and press it a little bit, and you will see how much more you can do. And it has to be obviously less than your max. So here is our tonal scale. And we are going to shade our bell peppers using all of these shades. Starting with minimum, and a good 50-60% of your shading is going to be done with minimum and +1 pressure, and just maybe 30 or 40% would be done with pressure number 3, and barely 5 to 10% with max pressure. So when you're drawing this, again, a few tips that I can give you. Aim to not use the eraser at all. That's your aim. And in order to do that, somewhere you need to just psych yourself to say that in case I can't go back, what are the fail safes I need to keep in mind every time I draw the line? In 3-4 lines, you will be able to draw well enough. Okay, one important thing is when we are using light lines, the lead tends to float on paper. So avoid putting your hand over the sketch. Otherwise, everything will start smudging. And if that is not possible, just use some paper underneath your hand. The smudging on the paper while we are sketching will happen mostly because of your oils, the oils coming out of your hand. That will smudge the work. And if not, then I usually have, I'll show you what I use when I sketch. Okay, so I cut up old socks like this, and on one side make a small hole so that I can insert my thumb out of it and use this for sketching so that my hand does not erase the lines.
Aditi,
Yeah.
when you said mid-tone, can you tell me what mid-tone is? I always get,
In
I
the
think I
picture,
have a wrong understanding of what mid-tone is.
you want to tell me what you think it is? You may be right.
I thought it's something that's not a highlight or a shadow, but just like a middle, like a
Yes.
basic middle. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is. So
Okay.
the midtone won't be just one tone.
Uh-huh.
Anything that is somewhere between the highlight and the shadow
Okay.
is a midtone.
Got it. Got it. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's yeah, the definition is quite self-explanatory.
Got it. Okay.
When you're drawing though, just take care that you are not holding your breath. Sometimes if you hold your breath, your lines can come wobbly, very dark. Um, it's like an irrational fear sometimes we develop. Are you able to see the curved lines for shading? Let me know when you come to that stage. I remember being very confused about how to identify where or which direction I should take the lines in, so I can help you with that.
Hi, Aditi.
Is this Paru?
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
Hi. So we start with the lightest tone, right?
Correct.
And then build up as and where we want to.
Correct.
Uh,
Yeah, but you build up with light tones. So every time you add a layer of pencil, the obviously the color is becoming darker because the volume of graphite in that area is going to be more. That's all. But
okay.
when we make these with lighter tones, we have a fair amount of control over the final contrast we want to develop. If we go in with a darker tone right in the beginning, we miss out on the subtle light highlights that we will have, and then that will make the object look less three-dimensional.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I'll to give you an idea. When we have a high contrast image, we will have a spotlight on the highlight
Hmm.
and the shadows to support the highlight. So it's almost like converting a picture into black and white, where the white is the highlight and the black is everything other than the highlight.
Hmm.
So if you can imagine how black and white photography used to be in the past, or if you want to show something that is very stark, they will just neutralize all the midtones and show you a very dark and very light
Hmm.
shadow.
Hmm.
That makes the image very dramatic, but also it cuts out all the three dimensionality from it.
Hmm.
Uh, and as always, there's nothing wrong. It's just an effect. So if it turns out that way, you know where you stand.
Hmm.
So you don't have a problem with making those light strokes, right? Or I is
No. I don't have a problem with. I'm anyway little challenged when it comes to sketching, first of all. So I'm just trying to, and I've not sketched in a while. So I'm just trying to figure out the strokes to get the shape first.
all right.
Uh,
Yeah, so that is exactly what I want to address. So if you feel that you are unsure about something, just ask.
yeah.
Yeah, because I'm trying to figure out what might be the challenges, and
Yeah.
preempting that, I'm explaining a whole lot. Because believe me, I have been through all the challenges.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm right now trying to even first figure out how to get my face on this thing. The video is not coming on.
Oh my God. Okay. But you're on the phone. Okay.
Yeah. I'm on the phone because it's just easier here at my desk
Okay.
to keep it on
All
my
right.
phone.
Are you able to see the picture clearly though?
Yeah, very clearly.
All right.
Very
Perfect.
clearly. Yeah.
Okay, so one thing about sketching is please hold the book with
Yeah.
your
I can
palm
hear
down.
you. I can hear you in my ear every time my hand goes to support my face. They're like,
Yeah,
put your
because
hand down.
this is how we write often.
Yeah. Yeah.
So hold the book. So this is like you see those large cranes that work in construction sites. They
Yeah.
have a very big, a very heavy weight on the crane part of it or the base of it, and then the crane can do whatever it wants.
Yeah.
That is how even our hand works. All our weight is supported by the base, and then you can really easily start drawing those lines.
Mm.
At least in the beginning, that helps your muscles to become steady when you're drawing these, because in the beginning everything is wobbling, and
Yeah.
add to that wobble, you don't even have a base.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Now, a little bit about the line quality when you're making this. My lines usually are what I like to say pendulous or infinite line. So the line I draw is as if it is part of a pendulum, and the pencil just comes down and touches the paper and then just lifts off the paper like that. So there isn't a starting point or an ending point, it trails off. And the shading is done just putting one line next to the other. So I'm very careful how my pencil comes and smoothly lands on the paper and then smoothly takes off. If the contrary to that is making lines like that, where the start is defined, the end is a takeoff, and very rarely is it the other way around, where the start is a smooth landing and then it stops. Hardly anybody does this line. This would be a more advanced line to make. But this is the one to aim for. Worst case scenario, you will get a wobbly start and finish. Like you can't decide, or the line doesn't come down at the same point every time, but at least it does not give you a dark patch. So we do a combination of long lines, short lines, and lines at different angles to achieve the result we want. But these lines can be visible. You are not required to smooth the texture up completely. The purpose of sketching is to be able to translate something real into something abstract in a sense. We are just making these lines. Maybe we will make like 1,000 lines on this paper, which could have been words. But instead of that, we are making them look like something. And we are tricking our brain into believing that that is what is on paper. To make it very realistic and smooth, we can use paper stumps, but I want to avoid that at this stage. It's not necessary. The aim of our exercise is not to make refined illustrations. The aim of the exercise is to translate 3D into 2D and make it look like it's 3D. In order for us to be able to draw these for a recipe illustration. I'm pretty satisfied with um, this amount of shading. Now I'm going to start making the slightly darker patches. Excuse me for a minute.
So Aditi, it's okay to have shading in different direction, or do you follow one?
You should do it in different directions because that will then lay the uh, lay the graphite down in such a way that it's visible. In the same direction, you might have the same blank spaces. So though it becomes a little darker, it does not become as efficiently dark as when you keep changing the direction of the lines. Okay, so if you've done at least half of this or part of this, I think we'll move on to the grapes because we have to keep switching back between grapes and something else while one or two layers are drying. So let me start you off on the grapes and then we can come back to this while we are waiting for the grapes to dry. All right? Okay, so let me show you how the grapes can be drawn.
Are you using color pencil for the grapes or watercolor?
Both.
Okay. Because I didn't have a supply list. I don't have color pencils. That's why.
Not an issue, not an issue. As you can just see this part, the color
Yeah.
pencils are going to be used to enhance a part of the sketches, which
Okay.
you can do later, but mostly it is going to be the play of watercolor.
Okay.
Okay, so while the pencil sketching is focusing on a lot of detail and we are trying to refine the shapes and the tones and taking it one step forward by not just recreating it in color but translating it into monochrome or achromatic scale, which is a gray scale, and then trying to create that. So that is an intense exercise. With the grades, I want to take you to the other extreme, where it's more about splashing color, having fun, making the illustration look compelling without having it to look real. So your burden is reduced a whole lot. And the very fact that our brains are equipped to see something and instantly make judgment works in our favor for an exercise like that. So, all you need to do is literally provide maybe 20% of the information, and the brain will say, okay, fine, I can fill in the rest. That is its one job. So this illustration, we are going to go a little riotous. We will draw the shapes, but we are going to draw them fairly casually. We will draw highlights, we will indicate shadows, but when we are painting it, we are not going to make it very drab and boring and more like an exercise. It's going to be about allowing the watercolor to flow and then using color pencil to add an unexpected twist to the illustration. Okay, so we'll do it in stages. I will make the drawing first, then you will make the drawing. Then I want to show you the watercolor wash, the way I want to do it. I can describe it, but I'd prefer that you watch it. Then you can make the same. And while that wash is drying, we'll go and sketch the bell peppers like we have them right now. And once that watercolor wash is dried, then we will do the pencil magic on it. All right. Okay, so this picture can be made almost with transparent bubbles. So the reference image in this case truly is just going to be a reference image. And you can just draw these grapes like transparent balls, one next to the other. When you're allowed to use transparency like this, you can make shapes a lot better. You're not worried whether if I draw my grape from here, is it going to look like a grape, or what if I draw something like this? It won't look enough, whatever. It's much easier to draw this when your line can go through. And for the painting we are making, this is going to be or provide part of the texture, part of the roundness of the object. So I'm still trying to draw the grapes the way I see them, but there are so many that I might lose my way here. So I just use some logic that I figured out how difficult can it be. We've been drawing grapes literally from the kindergarten. The first thing I think the most first difficult thing we draw is a bunch of grapes. Like in a triangle, we'll draw first the 4, 3, 2, 1. So go back to just that and then add more layers to it. There's nothing more to grapes anyway. And for that matter, if you could recognize that stack in a triangle as grapes, this is going to look like grapes. All right, there are a few extra grapes that I'm making on the inside just to give the sketch volume, and then also making the stalk. Okay, so this is how the grapes are drawn. Now I'm going to let you make the same thing. Give it no more than about 2 or 3 minutes to draw. So if you've got odd shapes, don't erase the shapes. You have no time for that. Adjust the shape with the pencil. Let the wrong lines be there. We are using a very light pressure on these lines. So it won't matter that there are more lines than are required. Okay, while you're at it, also draw highlights. Most of the highlights are going to be in about the same space everywhere. So they will be on the top center or the top left or right. Draw them as you see them, and if you don't see them, just draw them anyway. In some grapes, you won't have the highlights, so don't draw them there, like over here towards the sides. And in some grapes, they will skip. In some, you will have a different highlight, like light coming from the sides. Mark that. We are not drawing this drop of water right now. Water we will be painting at some point. That's a separate study altogether. Okay, are we done? All right. Now let me show you the painting. I'm going to be using most of these colors. And remember how we did the the color blending thing last during the watercolor sessions? It's going to be somewhat like that. So I am creating some of these colors in my palette, hydrating the right shades, but the painting is not going to be too disciplined. So we have colors like deep purple, blue, ultramarine blue, a little bit of purplish pink here, moving into almost a yellow, greenish yellow, down to orange. So all sorts of things are happening over here.
Can you just say which colors you're taking to blend?
Yes, I'm going to give you the shades right here.
Yeah.
I'm using ultramarine blue, then a mix of ultramarine blue and crimson. That will give us a very nice purple. Then I'm using orange. then gamboge, which is the warm yellow color, and to that just a little bit of sap green, but very little sap green. It's there somewhere.
Before gamboge was what?
Orange. Ultramarine, crimson, orange.
And sap green, right?
Correct. Okay, I want you to just see this now. I have the colors all at the ready over here. Ultramarine blue, crimson, orange is in this. I've taken some out over here. Gamboge and sap green. And I am making my paint reasonably runny. It's not like a wash, it's just reasonably runny. Okay, just don't paint right now, just observe this part and then make the colors. Just leave your painting for a little bit. So I am slowly going over our shapes fully. I'm not going to stop in between. And wherever I want the color to be a little light, I'm going to press the pencil down and merge it with whatever color I see next. So all I need to do is avoid the highlights. But other than that, I can keep adding whatever color I want. The colors that we are seeing in the reference image are merely suggestions. So I am also blending some of these colors on paper itself. Take the paint out in your palette and add water to it so that it flows. If you take it straight from the cake, it will not flow as much. So check your consistency. And this is what I want. I want this to just look like one big splash of paint in the form of grapes. That is the aim. In the process, our colors are going to change. Some colors will go haywire wherever you wanted. Yellow, you might probably get a pink or an orange. That's fine. Just follow the shape. And I'm going to add a little bit of green in some places just because it's there on paper or in the reference image. And go right back to orange. So the trick is to not load the brush too much. I am using a number 7, and although I am painting some parts with the tip of the brush, then I am pressing right up to the middle of the brush down so that I can embed that color into the paper. This is going to be our layer 1, mind you. Beyond this, we can add many more layers if we want. That is a choice we have. Alright, so it's taken me about 4 or 5 minutes to paint this. So don't be in a rush. Go slowly. Just make sure that everywhere you leave the brush, there is enough liquid so that your when you go back into it, that liquid will join the new application and move forward. If it doesn't happen that way and there are some patches, don't stress over it. Avoid going back to correct anything. No need to correct this. And all of our grapes are going to look different colors. That's going to be a good thing. And I'm painting the stalk with a combination of the sap green and gamboge also. I want to put a little bit of crimson in that stalk as well. And maybe a little ultramarine blue at the top. When you're done, you can go back to shading the bell peppers while we wait for the color to dry. Okay, So my grapes have dried, and I want to again show you what to do with them now. So I'm going to use my color pencils to create some texture on them. Now we can create texture by using our regular pencil as well, or we can use color pencils so that we don't have any dark patches there. I want you to just observe this if you don't mind. So now that I have made like a base wash on everything, I can start doing the same kind of sketching that I did on the bell pepper, but in color pencil on these grapes as well. You should be able to see the pencil lines underneath these grapes, and you should be able to create a shape or a texture using those lines. It doesn't all have to be one color. You can keep changing and making the shape of the grape in different colors. They can be contrasting, they can be the same color, but you should try to make the shading a little more casual so that it's like a scratchy shadowing. And you can add any color over there which you feel is going to give you that effect. Not the color, but the effect. So when you change, when you use a different color, like for example, I'm using a green here to create a shadow. Shadows are basically just a darker color of the same or darker shade of the same color as the object, and I can create that darkness with literally any other color, especially if the color is a complement, which means it's on the other side of the color spectrum. So you don't really have to make a shadow only in black. In fact, black shadows can tend to look too predictable. These shadows will look stunning. They will make your picture stand out because of you how your illusion is playing. I'm shifting to even a lighter blue in some places, and it won't matter so long as that space is occupied by some color that represents my shadows. It will do the job. The brain will then furnish the rest of the information. So you can use color pencils and then go back to paint if you want and paint some more. Then go back to color pencils. You can continue this transparency effect also. And try the scribbling shading, the not too refined shading, and see what effect you get. Now in this you also have the option of not shading in a few places, and you can, like I said, go back to paint and also use again a more dramatic color if you feel like it, like a blue or a green or something, to overpaint certain sections like that to create more drama. It's definitely going to look different from the photograph, and that's the whole point. I'm using a dark green for the shadow in watercolor. Just a few strategic swishes here and there. I can use a purple, orange, the same colors that we have used before also. But they're deliberately vague. They're not, I'm not spending too much time on making a very refined shade. So an illustration like that, one is it's much quicker to make. So you're not spending 45 minutes making one ingredient. It's encouraging to make illustrations like these for recipes. You just throw in a little bit of color, make a casual shape, and you do realize that the brain is able to figure it out. If your brain can, 99% of brains outside can. I can't say 100% now, because with all these newly discovered learning difficulties and accommodations that we have to make for people, there is no 100% of anything. That's what I've learned. But 99% people will be able to tell you that this is a grape, and if you make something like this, even in a purple color, this will still look like bell pepper. So when you're practicing, if you can do a combination of the two, mostly you want to make illustrations which you will be able to enjoy. So you can focus on making 100 illustrations like these. And for every 100 illustrations like these, you can have maybe about 5 or 10 which are this intense. So that gives us what, 1 in 10 or even 1 in 20. But if you do a lot more of even the casual painting exercise, you will be able to make the 1 in 10 also a lot better. Okay, any questions? One second. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you have any comments, if you would like to share some suggestions, please feel free to share them with me, and definitely share this video with all your friends as well, and join me again to do some more food illustration.